the risk up to 70%. Obviously, it depends upon the level of complexity and a few other issues, but on an average, it reduces time and cost by up to 70% in our experience. So with that understanding, I'll quickly touch upon what Rolta is all about. We are a mid-sized IT solutions company, not a traditional Indian IT services company, as we have our own IP-based solutions in different areas. Been around for about 30 odd years, close to about 4,000 employees, operate in multiple countries. The areas we focus on, as you can see on your screen, big data analytics. Traditionally, Rolta has been into GIS and engineering IT solutions. We work with the rest of the technology partners, Oracle, SAP, and you can see a brief list of our customers, which are majority of them being a Fortune 500 customers. So moving on from here, in our experience, we've seen most of the projects, or rather 50% of the projects fail because of data related and reporting related issues, because the migrations are typically hard and risky. But with Rolta's tool-based approach through Smart Migrate, we can help you reduce time, cost, and risk significantly. Based on our experience, we've done this for over 20 plus customers globally. We have the technical expertise, and the best part is we are able to offer a fixed price, fixed scope kind of engagement to our customers, as against typically, the traditional approach where would put several people on the project, large team with an undefined scope running and the cost running into millions. And just to, give an example, we are doing this for a global retailer where we are migrating almost 30,000 reports from one BI platform to the other. And typically, the kind of BI platforms that we've seen that exist at various customer sites are given on the left-hand side of your screen, usual suspects, MicroStrategy, Cognos, etc. And why do we feel that, customers have that kind of heterogeneous environment? The reasons could be any of the ones that I mentioned, could be in an M&A kind of a situation, or each department having their own priorities and budgetary issues. Some of the situations, there are some legacy platforms which are just continuing because there's too much business logic built into it, and the customers hesitate in consolidating. And then budgetary issues are another reason. So what does this lead to by having a heterogeneous BI environment? Typically, we've seen you have siloed operations where there are islands of information. If the CXO wants to have one version of truth, it is hard to find. In some cases, citing example from one of the customer, the CXO wanted to have a unified view of the business. May I request those of you who are not speaking if they can go on mute, please? Thank you. So the wanted to have a report which gives him a consolidated view of his different businesses, and it took about 6 to 7 days to generate that report, because each time there has to be some effort required in terms of pulling data from various sources. Whereas with this tool, you can consolidate onto a platform and provide one view of the truth. In a heterogeneous environment, you will have multiple tools, so you end up paying high maintenance costs and multiple license costs. Therefore, your cost goes up. Because of complexity in your BI environment, business users are always dependent on IT who are helping them out get a particular report. So with this kind of a scenario of a heterogeneous environment, we've worked with a few analysts like Forrester, and they came up with a report very recently, as recent as about 2 months ago in December of 2017. You can see the name of the report there, and they gave 3 or 4 approaches of how you can consolidate, or rationalize or integrate your BI platform. And clearly from this diagram, you can see the consolidate approach yields the maximum benefit. The one in dark green color is the maximum benefit. And now Forrester, one point to note here is that Forrester had done this report without the knowledge of a tool like Smart Migrate. And therefore the conversion effort they are saying is high in consolidate. But with a tool like Smart Migrate, because of the automation it offers, the convergent effort is significantly reduced. So overall, the consolidate approach gives a single version of truth, low maintenance because you will be having only one BI platform, and your report turnaround time is much faster. Moving on, we work with another renowned analyst, Gartner, and they have recommended Rolta Smart Migrate tool. And in one of their reports, which is mentioned on the screen, they have said that Rolta, with the help of this tool, can provide customers a fixed time, fixed cost, and a fixed fee engagement, which can lead to a predictable outcome with the help of this tool called Smart Migrate. And if anyone is interested, we can provide more details about this report. But essentially, as we can see, the approach to consolidate your heterogeneous BI platform is a better approach, as you saw in the previous slide by Forrester. And Gartner recommends Rolta Smart Migrate for BI migrations. So any questions so far? So I'll take that as a no. And for the rest part, I will request my colleague Chandu to take over from here, and he will walk you through the rest of the slides. Chandu?
Yeah, so you can just make me present. I have the same deck, makes it easier.
Sure, just give me 1 sec. Just give me 1 sec.
Guys, whoever's not talking, please go on mute. Appreciate it. No. Siraj,
just give me 1 sec.
Just go to attendees and select right click and make me present.
Yeah, the problem is my cursor is not coming on the. Just 1 sec.
Okay, got it. Okay. Perfect. Yeah, hello everyone. Chitra sir, is that your phone in the back? A lot of noise.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Okay.
Can you go on mute, please? Thank you.
Okay. All right. So thanks everyone. I hope you can see my screen. So I'm going to talk to you about the Smart Migrate product. So we actually have two flavors of Smart Migrate. One is the Smart Migrate for BI, which is the purpose of today's webinar. And we also have the Smart Migrate for database migrations to HANA Target, which is another product, and which we're definitely going to do another webinar on that. But for this webinar, we're going to focus on the consolidation of how we can use Smart Migrate. So what is it? So Smart Migrate, it's it's a technology solution, okay, a pure technology solution. It's got an automated accelerator framework. Now that's important because it's a combination of tools and processes, okay, together that make the smart migrate technology. And primarily the purpose is to rapidly consolidate your reporting. And the most biggest advantage is that you're not talking to the business and disturbing them, so you're able to do it completely via technology, and in that way, you're not disrupting the business. And you can see an example here from OBI to Cognos, a report, so this is one of the various flavors. Like we can typically go from any to any, but you can see what we do. I mean, I'm going to walk you through the other slides on the architecture, but the look and feel will be so identical that users won't even feel the difference. The only thing they'll have to do is get trained on the new target, but they can continue using the reports. So the next slides will take you through the architecture. So in terms of at a high level, so Smart Migrate we actually built source adapters as you see in the bottom with all these platforms. So we'll be able to extract the database connections as well as the entire semantic layer if it's there in that BI tool. And we can also extract all the reports into the technology we use is nothing but the SDK and .coms that are available on the BI platform.
Chandu, one sec. I just wanted to request everyone, if they are not speaking, if they can be on mute, please, because there's a lot of background noise. It may be hard for others to listen to. Thank you. Go ahead, Chandu.
Okay, no problem. And yeah, so basically we use Java.com and any technologies that are provided by that SDK. We extract it into a metadata model, which is nothing but a gigantic XML file, XML-based file. And then we also built target adapters to these platforms, where you can do a semantic layer to a semantic layer migration, and then you will do the reports to reports migration. So it's a very seamless exercise, and you can go. The advantage of this is a plug and play. So in a sense, if someone wants to go, I can actually build the source extractions from Cognos or OBI. I mean, from Cognos, let's say. Now I can branch off into either business objects, or I can branch off into OBI. Or any other target platform. So that capability is also there. So you're extracting once, but you can write the target to multiple places if that's a scenario where. And we did encounter that in one of our large clients where we extracted from MicroStrategy, but they wanted it. They had two different groups. One group went with business objects, and the other group went with SSRS. So we were able to satisfy those kind of variations as well. And now the key thing to understand in the BI migration consolidation is that we don't touch the data layer, so that remains constant. So as a typical example is, if you have Cognos running on an Oracle database, then we migrate the BI layer and bring it over to business objects, for example. So the business objects will be the platform now, but the backend database will still be Oracle, and there's no change there. So the denominator remains the constant. That's important to understand. Okay, and then in the configuration manager, these are all the various within our tool, some screen tabs. So we can selectively select folders, that you want to migrate, etc. So you can either move a group of reports, or you can move all the reports, whichever, whatever makes sense, And we're going to talk later on what we do on rationalization as well. Okay? So as far as the methodology goes, which is actually very important, we first do we actually built several utilities as well. The Smart Migrate tool, the Smart Migrate technology solution actually comprises of several components. One of them is the Smart Migrate tool I just walked you through in the earlier slide, but we also built several utilities around it based on our experience. So we built a utility called Reports Rationalization Utility, an RRU. And what that does, several customers have told us, hey, we got 25,000 reports, but you know what, I don't want to migrate all of them. So can you help us with rationalization on what to migrate? So we actually, based on the feedback, we actually ended up building a tool ourselves, which will tell you which reports are duplicates, which reports are actually parent reports. And so in that way, you just migrate the parent, you don't have to migrate the children. And we have another slide on it where we can go deeper into it. But the rationalization exercise is conducted here, and we inform the customers, hey, out of 15,000 reports, you only need to migrate 10,000 because, and then that actually helps reduce the budget, whatever, the customer has. Then we provide a strategy roadmap. We typically do a pilot or a phase one straight away, whichever the customer wants. And I have a bigger slide on the overall migration lifecycle where I'll explain a little bit more. But the key thing this pilot phase does is it enables us to configure Smart Migrate for your environment. Basically, we take whatever is built and whatever adapters we have done on our side, and we do the mapping. And then, so usually 80%, 90%, even 70%, we get those kind of automation mappings. In some cases, something very specific customization, if it's done at the customer site, we make sure that we try to bring those out in the pilot phase itself, so that our tool is now has that extra intelligence now built in to capture those customizations specific to your customer. And now, when you plan out the various sprints, you'll have a higher automation percentage. You don't have to revisit those special customizations that were done because now the tool has already learned that, And so then you begin the sprints, and this is one sprint. How the next process flow that you're going to see shows you what happens in one sprint. Okay, a monthly sprint. Let's put it that way. So what we extract the semantic layer, we create the target semantic layer, we validate it, and once this is done, we migrate the reports, and then into the target platform. We extract and migrate into the target platform. Then this box is where we do any manual adjustments that need to be done. We do it here. That's why you see there is no automation symbol here. And we also do user testing, unit testing here. Once it's done and the data is matching, and so we actually do a system testing and data volume testing. And this is where in the system testing, we built other utilities to do further testing. This is able to compare automatically. It takes the SQLs captured from the source system. The source system and target system, you're able to compare the SQL queries. And then we push it to UAT. And this is primarily where the business users come in, and they assign usually a power user, so they sit on it, they test out, and if everything is good, then we move forward, we finish the documentation, we provide the basic training, knowledge transfer to the IT team or IT support team, especially whoever is going to be doing this. And we also do knowledge transfer to the power user for navigation. And after everything is done, the end user rollout, and we offer a stabilization period of 30 days, and then the production support. This is optional. If you want Rolta to provide that, we provide it. Otherwise, typically the IT companies, they take care of it. Okay, if there's no questions, I'll go to the next slide. This is one slide where I think I mentioned about the data validation utility that we built. So basically it takes the queries from the source system, right? The actual physical SQL that's generated, and it compares the physical sequence generated by the target system, and we can do it either one query at a time, or you can do it in bulk. So you capture all these queries, put them in a folder, capture the same queries, put them in another folder, and you just run it. And then the tool automatically issues the SQL back to the source database, back to the target database. It compares the row count, and it also compares the individual values that are coming back. So in that way, it does both. And this is how we do data validation in an automated way. So all these utilities that we build and the tools is meant to speed up and do it much faster, which Raj had alluded to earlier. Yeah, so if you remember, the first phase of the methodology is reports rationalization. And we built this tool, and what our RRU tool does is it factors the usage statistics as well. So every tool like OBI or Cognos, etc., they actually have built-in usage statistics tables. Okay, so several customers, in fact, I would say almost 100% of our customers where we are using RRU, they have always told us, I want you guys to do rationalization based on the usage. So for example, if nobody has run the report in 13 months, in step 2 into our own database, and it has it creates a CSV file, okay? And that CSV file can also be further edited if you want, but that is used as an input. And so let's say, for example, the customer has 20,000 reports, but based on the usage statistics and the date range, only 10,000 reports is what results are stored. Then the customer wants to do rationalization only on that 10,000. So then those 10,000 reports, we again go back, we use our RRU. It goes and says, okay, within that 10,000, I will let you know how many superset reports you have and how many identical reports you have. And then in that way, the customer can make a determination saying that, we also have a role to play. Like we typically say this is the best practice, but the customer also has a say in it, saying that, yes, I agree that instead of 10,000 reports, you need to migrate, instead of 10,000 reports, you need to migrate 6,500 reports, right? So all the way from 20,000, you have come down to 6,500, okay? So very quickly, usage statistics, duplicate supersets. The output also includes the subject area and who ran it last. So this is what facilitates the meaningful discussion, okay? And typical reduction, we have seen anywhere from 30% to 50%, but in some cases a little higher, but this is the average that we've seen, okay? Yeah, this is the project lifecycle which I spoke to you earlier. Again, this is just a typical one. We could easily change this based on what the customer has. So what happens is we have two things going parallelly. We first do the rationalization for the full set of reports, and the only reason we're putting 2 months here is to allow time for the whole discussion, going back to business, saying, hey, based on the output, which ones they want to keep. Otherwise, it's even in 1 month time or even less, the whole rationalization can be done. But we just put it for 2 months just to allow for all the sign-offs and approvals, etc. In parallel, we also start off the pilot. So in that way, the pilot is nothing but a representative sample, which covers some of the key areas. So let's say you have 5 functional areas, sales, marketing, operations, whatever. So you go and select a couple of samples from those, and typically we select a combination of complex, medium, and simple, and we run the pilot. So in that way, we can finish the pilot, and you have a very good understanding at the end of the pilot what kind of complexity we're looking at for the customer. And since the rationalization also will be in full swing, you'll be able to plan your delivery sprints. So let's say you have 10,000 reports, and through rationalization, we may have come to 6,000 reports. So the customer says, okay, let's just do 1,500, 1,500, 1,500, 1,500. Sorry, in the enforcements. So and so we can go up to, yeah, right now we're seeing up to 1,500 reports per month we're able to do. Obviously, if the demand comes to do higher, then we can do higher. But yeah, anywhere from in that range we're able to do. Now, the key thing is you obviously plan out the subject areas as I mentioned, maybe sales, marketing, operations, whatever. But you also implement security along the way. And typically, even here, we have actually developed some utilities. Like the current project we're doing, we're moving from OBIE to Cognos. So we were able to automate the AD groups to roles, application roles, that mapping. So we were able to extract out from OBIE the roles and groups, and then we were able to upload that into a spreadsheet, and then that's how we were able to contribute in getting the security aspects also automated. Some cases you have to do it manually only, and we let them, either the customer do it or we do it, depending on what we signed up for. And during this time, you finish the UATs as well, and any onboarding training that's needed, we give it to train the trainer. Our typical approach is train the trainer, so in that way they can take it and train to everybody else. And also, one key thing is we're expecting the customer to train all the users on the new BI tool in terms of the tool functionality itself. So those kind of things in terms of governance. So when we do a project plan, we kind of do a combination project plan with the customer and us, and make sure that those tasks are also completed in parallel, so that the whole exercise of migration is done in a seamless manner. Okay. And usually after sprint 4 or sprint 5, whatever, they do the go live, and then we can do the ongoing maintenance on that. So typically this is a project cycle, but like I said, every project is different. So some customers may want to go live as soon as sprint 1 is done, and that's fine. So we'll adjust the cycles accordingly. Any questions? I know many people would be on mute, but if you have any questions, let me know.
Chandu, let's take the questions in the end, if that's okay. We started about 15-20 minutes for Q&A.
Q&A anyway. Okay, fine. Okay, so this is what this slide shows is that our utility automation, we can has assessment automation, migration automation, validation automation, as I told you earlier. And we try to, for every sprint that we plan out, we try to set a target automation even before the sprint starts, based on a combination of tools, technology, processes, and utilities that we have. And at the end of the sprint, we go back and double check to see whether we met. And then in this current completed sprint, our target was 65 and we met overall 66. So which means good. And then the next sprint, depending on how many objects we need to migrate, we again plan the whole cycle, and we say, you know what, in order for us to achieve 1,800 reports, for example, we need to do a 73% automation. So then we plan out accordingly, and then we test it at the end of the sprint, and then whether we achieved it or not. And typically it's there. And the reason why you see slight differences here is also based on every sprint that we finish, the tool is actually more features are added. In the sense, more mappings are added that are exclusive to that particular customer. So if there are anything that we couldn't handle at the end of pilot, because the pilot is only a sample set of reports. But as you do the real sprints, more thousands of reports are coming. So you'll see more features get added into the tool. So that's why the automation percentage also keeps increasing. So that's what this slide talks about. And this one, I think Raj touched on it earlier, the why Smart Migrate in terms of differentiators. Obviously, too much time. And for that, Smart Migrate reduces time even up to 70%. Money, same thing. It's a fixed price of ours is fixed price, and it reduces the risk. The risk is on us. We deliver it, and it's priceless. Requires high investment business time. So this is a key point. That's most migrations they don't want to do because they're worried they have to again call the business users, find out what the logic was that was built in the source platform. All this stuff goes away because it's completely automation. We bring the logic over as is, whatever is there. And in certain cases, even at my current customer, they said this out of these 10 areas, 8 areas we bring it over, but the 2 areas we are not happy with the way it is done in the source. So can you do a little bit redesign on that? So we take those exceptions also, and now we're helping them to redesign that on the target platform, and we take that as well. So those variations. Okay. Treat metadata and reports as one. Yeah, in the sense what this means, we provide. In this case, nobody understands. Hey, there's actually a semantic layer, and then there's the reports, typically. But we do a clear distinction, and then in that way, the automation is done very perfectly, and we take it from there. The only thing I wanted to add in this sentence is, we first, like in the earlier slide, where I showed you the various 4 sprints are there, right? So we try to do the semantic layer as well as much as possible upfront, even before sprint 1 does, as long as the 4 sprints are all part of the same semantic layer on the source. Different subject areas. There could be different subject areas, that's fine, but or packages or whatever you want to call it, or projects. But we try to do everything during the pilot phase itself. So in that way, there's very minimal semantic layer changes through the other sprints. I forgot that point. I wanted to mention that. And then so mix redesign and migration redesign. So here we typically migrate and then redesign if it's needed, which is exactly what the example I gave you. So we did migrate it, and then we're doing some redesign on 2 of the 10 areas. Okay, I think that's.
So yeah, so with that, we come to the end of what we wanted to talk about and present. Here are the contact details of me and Chandu, who are the 2 presenters today. And one thing that I would like to add, especially on the last slide, Chandu, last but one. Yeah, here. I think the biggest, differentiator that we bring to the table is that this whole thing, the whole migration process is available to our customers as a service. So they don't need to buy any licenses or, pay upfront capital expense. It is available as a service, and how much it is going to cost them, what kind of time frame it is going to take, is all known to them upfront. And we do a POC so that customer gets a taste of the pudding before they actually do a deep dive with us into a project. And whichever customer we've gone to has awarded us the project once they see the results from a POC, and there are several examples we can talk about. So that's the thought I wanted to leave you with, and happy to answer any questions if there are. And you all have my contact details via emails that I interacted you with. And beyond the Q&A today, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Let us spend this last 10-15 minutes answering any questions if anyone has.